Welcome back to our next day of our projects. I hope you got some cool leaves that you found for this today. We are going to be a little more messy today, heads up, which is more fun. But also we just got to make sure we're set up for that first. So you'll probably notice on my screen that I've got a paper bag down because we're going to be painting, so we're going to want that there. Or maybe you've got newspaper or a table covering of some sort. That works out perfectly. Another thing you're going to notice is I have a wet rag or paper towel to kind of clean off my hands in between, and I've got a little dish of water here too if I need that. Whatever you would like, whatever your setup's like at your home. And then another thing you might want to consider is we are going to be using acrylic paints, which is amazing because, you know, it's bold and it dries fast, and that's fantastic. But also it can be problematic because it's bold and it dries fast, and that means it's going to stain our clothes, right? So if you're wearing something that you like, I would put a smock on, so like, kind of like an apron, right? Something to protect it. Or if you're like, I don't have anything like that, you can always flip your shirt inside out. That way if you do get some paint on it, it's not as big of a deal because you're not going to see it at least. So those are just my forethoughts before we get into the real fun stuff here. So today is going to be day 1 of 2 for this particular project. It's going to end up looking something like this, some really cool white leaf prints. So hopefully you got those leaves ready to go. If not, pause, go grab some cool leaves, okay? We're going to need, aside from our black piece of paper, we're also going to need white paint and then the leaves, obviously, as well as our setup. The first thing though, before we even get to it, I would like you to take one of your leaves, okay, and have a piece of paper in front of you, and also put your hair on your head if it's not there already, okay? Just kidding. Or if someone's next to you, you could also use their hair to feel. So here's what we're going to do. This is going to seem kind of weird, but what I want you to do, I'm going to maybe grab a different piece of paper real quick, one that doesn't have paint on it, and I'm about to show you why that's going to be important for this little practice demo here. All right. So here is my paper, my leaf, and my hair. So we're going to close our eyes, and I want you to touch the piece of paper. No looking, no peeking. Now I want you to feel around. There we go. I want you to touch the leaf next. Okay, still eyes are closed. No opening them, no peeking. The next thing I want you to do is to touch your hair. Okay. Now I want you to open your eyes and tell me, how did you know which was which? I mean, aside from obviously, you know, the hair is maybe connected to and this isn't, but how did you know the leaf versus the paper? And I'm sure you could feel, even if you had, you know, maybe a at-home mentor that you were touching their hair, you could still know the difference between them. So how is that? Well, it's because of an art term. It's called texture. Have you heard this word before? Texture. So texture is how something feels. And we can feel the difference. Even with our eyes closed, we know the difference between paper and a leaf and our hair or anything else that might be around you. We can feel the difference because of the texture. We're going to use that today for this project too. When you pick whichever leaf you're going to start with, I want you to feel both sides of it. One side's probably going to feel a little bit smoother, and one side is going to have some more ridges to it. It's going to have more texture. That's the side with all the veins and stuff with more texture. That's the side that we're going to want to use today. Okay? So it's just going to give us a really cool look when we do that. So let me move some things around here real quickly. There we go. I've got my big piece of paper down, and I'm going to grab my first leaf. I already started with it before, so we'll continue on. So here it is. Actually, you know what? I'll get a new one for you guys, just so you can see really from start to finish what happens here. Let me grab a new leaf. Ooh, this is a good one. All right, look at that guy. That's pretty cool, huh? So this is my smoother side. Here's my side that has more texture. That's the side I want to use. Scoot that out of the way. This is a big leaf, so I'm going to need to make room for it. I'm going to take my paint and I'm going to just squeeze it onto the leaf like that. I might end up needing more, but for now I think that's going to do. And I'm going to make sure I use my fingers to get all the way to the edges of this leaf. And I want to make sure it's thick enough that it's covering everywhere, but not so thick that it's like just caked on, like layered. I might need a little bit more. I didn't quite have enough to make it to all the edges, so add a little bit more paint. Always make sure to keep that cover closed in between just so it doesn't spill and make a mess anywhere. That would not be good. Alright, all the way to those edges. Just like that. That's looking pretty good. And now that I've got that done, I'm going to pick it up carefully. Find a spot on my piece of paper. Flip it carefully over. There we go. And we're going to do what I call a dab press. So it's just using my fingers and kind of dab, 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 pressing it down. But notice how soft I'm doing it, right? I'm not like squishing it down. Just dab presses. And also notice how I'm making sure to hit all the way around the edges. That's going to be really important if we want to see that exact shape of our leaf. And then of course make sure we're dabbing in the middle of our leaf as well. When you're done, carefully, this is cool, lift up, check that, oh look at that texture, it's so cool, isn't it? So I can reuse this leaf a couple of times if I want to. I can switch to another leaf. You'll notice in my example here that I've got 3 different kinds of leaves that I've used for it. So feel free to kind of play around with that, have some fun, but make sure to put this somewhere safe to dry because we're going to be bringing it back tomorrow as well as some oil pastels. So make sure you're keeping it somewhere safe and somewhere where you'll know where it's at before art club begins next time. We will see you then.